Hello everybody, welcome to the video. We're gonna be doing a tier list. Because we already do plenty of them, don't we? Yeah, that's right, more tier lists. Yeah, that's what the crowd's all cheering for. But what tier list is this? Yeah, this is Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, one of my favorite fighting games of all time. And we're gonna be just ranking every character from the good ones to the 12s. Speaking of 12, let's get into this with 12. D tier. This dude ain't good. The problem is with 12. Why? You know why? Like, he struggles with damage. He just struggles with, like, the only thing he doesn't struggle with is mobility. But it doesn't really mean much, because, like, yeah, sure, he can go in the air and do, like, an air move. That's cool. But, like, what then? He can do one of his aerial moves. But his aerial moves aren't that damaging, because nothing on 12 does damage. Like, even some of his best moves do, like, nothing. And his supers are so hard to hit. Like, there's not really a reason to play 12, in all honesty. The only reason you might want to play him is for the meme of picking the bad dude, like the really bad character. That's why he's a safe bet to say, yeah, he goes in D. So, next up, we have the second worst character. Now, guess who this is? That's right, it's Remy. Yeah, it's kind of just the general opinion that Sean, Remy, and 12 are the bottom three. And a lot of people say Remy's the absolute worst, because he's barely even playable. Because the problem is with Remy, if he was in any other game, he'd be really good. He's a charged character, but can do at least something up close. Only problem is that parrying. It makes his main gimmick of projectiles useless. So you would never ever really want to play Remy, honestly. I know that sounds stupid, but it's like he can't. His main gimmick doesn't work because of the main mechanic of Street Fighter 3. The main mechanic of Street Fighter 3 is the parry system. So having a character who's all about projectiles really isn't good. And the part that makes it the most confusing is that this was the third iteration of, like, Street Fighter 3. If this was like the first version, I would understand why Remy wasn't very good. Because, you know, maybe just testing out the waters, weren't really sure how it worked. This is the third version of Street Fighter 3, and they just somehow thought, put a charged character in there. And guess what? It didn't work. It didn't work at all. That being said, Remy is, pretty cool though, I will admit. That's all I've got to say about him. So next, of course, we have the last of the bottom three in D tier, and that is Sean Matsuda. The thing is with Sean, he's not as conceptually bad as Remy and 12. A lot of people like to think he's on the same level as them. He's not, but he's on a very similar level. It's like an inch difference between the level of Remy and 12, but they're borderline dysfunctional, and Sean, who just has... The problem is with Sean, you can't really do much with him. You know, like most of Sean's things, it's like, you hit, and that's really all you do. You can't really follow up on anything with Sean. He just struggles in like the most basic of scenarios because he just isn't good at comboing, and half of his moves just have bad end lag. So if you get blocked, you are eating such a fat whiff punish. It's kind of insane. Dear God. And that being said, he does have like some advantages, such as his EX tornadoes actually a pretty decent move. If it didn't force standing, which means it does less damage on crouching opponent. I don't get Sean. The more you play Sean, because when you're first starting out, you might be, oh, why do people say this guy's bad? But the more you play, the more you start to realize he just falls apart, like, immediately. I ironically play Sean because I do think he's fun, but even I'm not going to say he's even remotely good. He's terrible. Easily one of the worst characters of the game. But you know, he's still not the worst. That is 12. 12 is the worst. So coming up next is the one and only creepy breathing man, because I don't like it when people breathe. That is Q. Q is fucking slow. That's really all I need to say about him. He's not too bad. If it wasn't for the fact that half his moves have so much end lag. Like, since I recorded all this footage against CPUs, you can't really tell. But if I was playing this against real players, I would eat so many punishes. It's genuinely unreal. Q is just not good as a character. Because he's just so slow. And I know I'm just repeating myself, but it's the main thing that makes Q go from playable to bad. Is just the fact that he's so slow. Because, like, what do you do with Q? He's slow. But he doesn't do the same amount of damage as a grappler. So what is he for? He can't grapple. He's slow. He can't really do anything with Q. He's only there, I'm convinced, because Capcom wanted a cool, mysterious character. Which I will give. Q is fucking baller. If you play Q, you immediately look baller no matter what you do. So that was all of D tier. And you already know who's coming up next in C tier, because he's always here. Alex. Like, Alex is a fucking weird case. Because the bottom characters, or the bottom four, they struggle with their fundamentals. Except for, like, Sean. No, Sean has really slow moves, yeah, but Alex doesn't struggle in the same way that the other four do. He struggles because he can't do more than his fundamentals. He has relatively good normals. They do a solid amount of damage. His specials are pretty good. But he can't really do much more than that. Barely any of his moves are cancelable. So he can't really combo at all. And there's the elephant in the room when talking about Alex. His fucking dogshit supers. They are all so bad. Super 1 is a 360, so that already means I'm going to hate it. Because I can't do 360s. So, yeah, it's already that. And even then, it's not that damaging. Super Art 2 and Super Art 2 is notorious for not comboing or juggling at all. It just knocks the opponent out half the time. So yeah, it pretty much sucks to even attempt that. But what about Super Art 3? It's a gimmick. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it stuns. On a character who can't really combo. That would be such a good super on so many other characters. It had to be on the character who cannot combo to save his life. I don't understand why. It's just generally a weird... He's weird. He doesn't really fit into the rest of the game. So yeah, he's just generally kind of struggles in a lot of basic areas. Outside of just the extreme basics. Against a new player, they will struggle against Alex. But after that, just falls apart. Next up, we have Kawaii Ninja Girl, Ibuki. Ibuki is a character who I feel so sorry for. She was top tier in New Gen, top tier in Second Impact, mid to bottom tier in Street Fighter Third Strike, mid tier in Street Fighter 4, and I believe she's like low mid tier in Street Fighter 5. And she gets like redesigned constantly. She can't catch a break. And I'm not saying it's not deserving, because Jesus Christ, she is not very... Okay, the thing is, the reason why she was so broken in the other games is because of her infinite. She had an infinite with a standing roundhouse. And they got rid of that. And they also just generally lowered the damage of a lot of her, like, just a lot of her normals. Because her normals in, like, New Gen and Second Impact are great. Not in this game, they don't do anywhere near enough, and it generally just makes her kind of fall apart. Like, I do like playing her. Sort of. Because though she is fun when you're actually doing good, when you're not doing good, you aren't. It's rough. Especially considering the whole gimmick is that her projectile you have to jump to do. and it really just makes it so obvious, and you eat so many anti-airs. So many, and when I mean you eat anti-airs, I mean genuinely, you have a whole fucking cereal bowl of anti-aerios, and you're just scarfing them down because you're just getting shoryukened everything all at once. So this one is kind of weird. This dude's a weird example of a character who's not good, but gets played a lot. That's Hugo. Hugo's fucking weird. He is slow as all hell. He has a lot of not that good moves. His pokes are terrible, and he has a massive hitbox. But so many people play him because of his ridiculous damage. I think I specify this isn't 100% objective. There is some subjectivity in this, which is very important for Hugo. Because I don't like playing grapplers, and most of all, remember what I said about Alex? Yeah, I can't do 360s to save my life. And his best super has 2 of them. Yeah, that's basically the reason why I don't like playing Hugo. And even then, outside of that, a lot of his against some of the more nimble characters in the cast, which is what a lot of the higher tiers are, he just eats shit all the time. Because he just can't, he's too slow and too big. And he doesn't have anything that makes up for it. He doesn't have anything that because he can grapple, yeah. But because of how fast a lot of the characters are, and how he doesn't have that much range as well, he gets so bodied. Because that's one thing that so many of the higher tiers have in this game, is ridiculously good damage and at range. Like, a lot of characters have good perks. Hugo doesn't have them, because if he wants to do anything, he really only has to grapple. And because if he grapples, he'll be left open to eat a whiff. Or if he doesn't want to grapple, he's left outranged. But because of his damage being so good, he still gets played, and I can't blame him. I can't blame him for that. And this is gonna be pretty controversial. Necro in C tier. The problem I have with Necro is simple. That's parries. This dude gets parried like no tomorrow because all of his moves are really obviously they don't have a lot of starting lag, but all of his moves have really obvious animations. All of his moves are really over animated, so that means you can almost always predict a parry. So he doesn't really have, he's meant to be a neutral based character in a game where neutral doesn't really exist. It's weird, because of the parry system, and just in general the very execution-heavy game style of Third Strike, Necro just doesn't fit in. You're essentially putting Steve from Minecraft into Roblox. A game full of circles, and you're putting a square man into it. It don't work, He can be good in some points. One of his supers, I accidentally picked the wrong one for the recording, but is really good at catching anti-airs. That's about all he has, though. He has some really good anti-airs. Because he has, that super, he has his back heavy punch, which is just generally a really good button. And that's really it. So those characters, Necro, Hugo, Ibuki, Alex, Q, Sean, Remy, and 12. They're the unviable 8. That wasn't even an intentional thing, I just came up with that on the spot. They're the characters who I don't think you can really get anything with in this game. You play them, and you don't really get anything good feeling out of them. You don't play... I'm mincing words. Basically, you can play them, but chances are you won't do that good with them. Except for Hugo. But Hugo is such an anomaly in this game, it's hard to talk about him. So B tier, just missing out on actually not being viable, is Liliana. I really like Liliana, honestly. She's a very different character from the rest of them. Almost every other character in Street Fighter is a big competitive, oh, I must be the best. Liliana's like, fuck it, I just want to have fun. And I like that. And it definitely reflects on her game, and her game style. Because she's a very, free-flowing character, if that makes sense. You're not like a lot of other characters where you have to do like one thing. Like Chun-Li, you always have to be trying to like, you constantly have to be pressing like her heavy punches and like her medium kicks and stuff, because those are like her best moves. Alina actually has a lot of good stuff, and a big reason why she's so great is her EX moves. Hands down, she has the best EX moves in the game. They're all multi-hits, and they're all like so good. You're parrying them really hard because of the timing, and it's just like you can't really go wrong with her EX moves. It's why like she's the character I argue you have the least to do with your supers, because though she does have a pretty good super in her like Brave Dance, I think it's called, you're hardly gonna use it because her EX moves are where it's at. Her EX moves are where all the damage comes from. Yeah, she's just generally a really capable character who just struggle. Who the reason why she isn't that high is because she does have some moves that can really get you killed. A lot of her moves do take time if they miss, and if they miss, you are like so open, so open. Next up is Oro. I fucking hate Oro. I hate playing him. I hate playing against him. But there's no denying he isn't terrible. He's fucking weird. He's like 100 years old. And he's like in canon one of the most powerful characters. To the point where even Akuma, the one who like pretty much wants to like become the very strongest, says like, I don't wanna, like, this man has my respect. He's that fucking strong. So yeah, Oro, he's cool as like a character. You can see his penis for a single frame of the sweep. That's just something funny. And that's really it. Oro's weird. He's an aerial-based character, which means that against some characters, he just struggles. But against other characters, he's actually pretty decent. It just makes Oro a weird mess of a character, you know. Oro isn't a character who I play as, and I think they're a good coherent character. Because he has a lot of air moves. And he's just weird. He's just weird and I don't like playing him. That being said, he has also one of my favorite supers of Tengu Stone, which essentially just brings in his own custom combo, which I wish custom combos were a thing in this game. Honestly, but yeah, he's like the only character who has a custom combo, and it's pretty decent, Next up is Ryu. Ryu's a hard character to say why he isn't amazing in this game. It's weird. Essentially, imagine a character who's good, but just isn't perfect. That is a terrible fucking analogy, Jesus. But yeah, Ryu just generally doesn't really have a lot going for him. He doesn't really have a lot that he has over Ken. Because you can't talk about why Ryu isn't that good in this game by talking about Ken. So I'm probably going to mention Ryu when I'm talking about Ken later, but the best way I can describe it, Ken has so many of his best moves are multi-hits, which makes trying to parry Ken really difficult. Ryu has like 3 multi-hits and 2 of them are supers. And speaking of supers, he doesn't have good ones. He has the standard big Hadouken, which is a fine one. There's his other one, I generally completely forget because I don't think I've ever even used it or seen anyone use it. And there's his weird electric chargeable Hadouken, which is unblockable, and admittedly is really good because it can get a shit ton of stunning. But in order to actually get it off perfectly, you have to do this really gimmicky back throw Hadouken combo, and it really just doesn't mesh well. But yeah, Ryu's fine. He's not perfect in this game. This is definitely one of his lesser good incarnations. But he could be worse. He could be a hell of a lot worse. I mean, Sean, he's a Shotokan. He ain't fucking good. So, next up, this is A tier. We're finally entering the A tier with the one and in fact the only Akuma. The thing is with Akuma, if this was any other Street Fighter game and he was like the exact same, he would be so good. However, this is a game where one like mess up can just body you. Like, that's the whole thing with like Third Strike, how it's a very execution heavy game, and the parry system makes it so you if you like mess up, it's really easy to get punished, especially at high level play. But I'm not a high level player. I don't think I've ever, yeah, I haven't ever been in a tournament. So Akuma, he is alright, I suppose. By alright, I mean really good. But he can also eat shit really easily with just one parry. And he just, because Akuma has no health, that's his whole gimmick, very high offense, bad defense, it means he really does get bodied if he messes up. Like he's arguably the highest execution character in the game. That being said, Akuma also has one other thing about him, and that's his unblockable setup. It's something like only really high level players do consistently, so I don't have any footage of it. But it's like one of the things that makes Akuma, in my eyes, go from B to A tier, is the amazing unblockable setup. And in general, Super Art 1 is great for chip damage. He's a surprisingly good chip damage character, which is a weird thing to say about this high offense god. Next up, we have Dudley. Fun fact, I got the Street Fighter 3rd Strike demo on Xbox 360 way back in the day, right? And there was only 3 playable characters. Ryu, Ibuki, and Dudley. I don't know why they chose those 3. And I remember I picked Ryu because, you know, he's the main character. He's bound to be good. I played Ibuki occasionally because I remember thinking she was cute. For some reason, I was scared of Dudley. I don't remember why. I think it was because his sprite, you can't see his eyes. And for some reason, I'm guessing that must have, like, spooked me when I was a kid. So I was like, well, I don't want to play him. And I never played him. And I was missing out. He's a fun character, but I'm not good as him. That's the thing with Dudley. He's another very high execution character. Because his whole thing is how he can link a lot of his moves together. And I'm not good at that. I don't know how to play Dudley. And I honestly don't have much interest in it. I've already had my mains. Yeah, just in general, he's fine. He's very fun. I just wish I was better with him. If I was better with him, I probably would bump him up a little bit because I'd know what I was doing. But I don't know what I'm doing with him. Next up is Makoto. Yeah, Makoto, yeah. So the thing is with Makoto, she is a character in 3rd Strike. She's very weird in a lot of ways. She's one of the most unique characters in, like, 3rd Strike, to me at least. She plays almost like a mixture of a Rushdown and a Shoto, except not really Shotokan, but, like, she looks like one. Like, she has one of the best groups in the game, the Seishon Gezen Satsuki, which is incredible at punishing. It, like, a lot of people sleep on that super. It could rival, like, Chun-Li Super Art 2. It's really good. That being said, she does have one really useless move, and that's her, like, anti-air, where she bumps her fist up, which I genuinely don't think I have ever hit with, and I think I'll ever hit with, because the hitbox is directly upwards, so you're only ever going to really hit, like, air dashing 12s and jump happy characters, which in 3rd Strike, considering it's a very competitively fueled game at this point, you won't get a lot of jump heavy players. So yeah, you won't really get anything out of that move. And even if you did have a jump heavy character, you'd have to dash into place and do that instead of using her down high kick. Which is also another thing I like. Unlike every character, her down heavy punch is a sweep and a down heavy kick is her, like, anti-air, which is the inverse for every other character. Which is something I just find interesting. She's very cool, and I do like her, but I don't know why, there's just something that's like, she isn't my favorite. I don't know why. I think it's definitely because she has some of the more finicky moves. Like her weird aerial kick, which is good when it hits, which it frequently doesn't. It's just, yeah, she's there. She is there, in fact. Next up, we have Urine, funny, piss. Yeah, Urien, he's cool. He's definitely one of the weirder characters in 3rd Strike. Little people say like, oh, 12, he's this weird goop monster. Oh, Necro, he's a weird, like, stretchy limbs dude. Urien's a bronze dude in a thong. Like, I don't mean, like, he's not black, he's bronze. He's literally like, Like, if you don't know the lore, his power is like controlling electrons or something. And apparently in order to do that, he just coats his body in bronze. I love fighting game lore sometimes. It's a mess, but that's kind of why it's so fun. Yeah, basically, I think that, yeah, Urian is pretty fun. He has a really good... His Aegis Reflexor, though, is what I think makes him fantastic as a character. That being said, he also does definitely have one weakness. And that's just the fact that he's a charge character. I don't like charge characters. Again, this is partly subjective, and I can't do charges for shit, as you probably can see right now in the background of the video. So yeah, he's fine. He's very tanky too. He's very tanky, but he's not slow like Hugo or Alex, which I feel like definitely puts him over the edge easily. So yeah, Urian solid A tier, and at the top of A tier we have Yang. This dude is so goddamn fun, and you guys keep sleeping on him. Quit sleeping on my man Yang. He is like the most fun dude. His main like thing is his like slashes. You can chain three of them together. He also has a bunch of other stuff, like a weird teleport move. It's like a weird dash, and it's like surprisingly decent. He has a grab. He's just generally a surprisingly decent. He's a decent character. I feel like the main reason he isn't like played or talked about as much is actually fairly simple. His brother. Let's just talk about that right now. Just kidding. We're actually going to talk about Ken. We're going to talk about Ken. Ken is our first S tier. Imagine Ryu, but he's just better in almost every way. Because Ryu, the thing is, Ryu focuses on Hadoukens. He does more damage with his like projectiles. Meanwhile, Ken does more damage with his physical moves. And this is the game where neutral fireballs are a terrible idea. So Ken is objectively better than Ryu in this game. Like, he has way better, like, he has, in my eyes, the best supers in the game. Though I definitely do think there are better individual supers. Makoto's SA1, Chun-Li's SA2, and Yun's SA3. But they're all really decent on Ken. His SA1, I used the 7th Q or whatever, which is a really easy like super to hit, and it's oh god, it's brutal. It's brutal. Look, oh god. If it wasn't playing right now, that's just gonna be the funniest thing. It's like Ken like jabbing like Alex. It's like, oh god. Yeah, Ken, long story short, he's really good in this game. He doesn't really have a... The thing is, with a lot of the reason why he makes S tier in my eyes, he doesn't have a weakness. And that's why, because every character has either some sort of weakness or just falls kind of flat. Like, Yang is really good, but he is very light. Like, Sean, he has nothing but weaknesses. Same with Remy and 12. Yeah, Makoto is very light and has a couple of moves that aren't intuitive. Ken doesn't really have a weakness. He's just overall incredibly solid. So yeah, I really just have to give it to Ken. He is S tier. So, here comes the big one. Yun or Chun? I say that Yun is number 2. Yun is our number 2. Yun is incredible. You might not get it from the footage I'm seeing, but Yun is like high level Yun play, which like you can search for yourself. It's genuinely the most beautiful thing. It pushes this game to its limits in just juggling and just doing insane stuff you didn't even think would be possible. Yun is just so well designed in this game. His whole thing is that he's like a juggle based character. His initial damage isn't that good, but because a lot of his moves are launches, he can keep you in the air as much as he wants. And that's what you do. When you're up against Yun, you play his game. You don't play your game, you play his. You have to like maneuver around all of his stuff. You have to make sure he doesn't build meter so he can get his custom combo. Because SA3, his custom combo, I will probably say is one of the best supers in all of gaming. It's just so good. I think, remember what I just said about this game having custom combos? Now that I think about it, I take that back. Because that means that every character will be able to have Yun level destruction, and I'm not ready to have that on Remy. Yeah, Yun is just incredible. He can just, like, he can make you his bitch. He makes you his bitch. You don't fight Yun, you defend yourself from Yun. That's the best way to describe it. However, he does have a couple weaknesses. For example, yeah, you can fairly, if you aren't confirmed into his custom combo, you can just play like defensively, and that's really it. Which is kind of Yun's main things. Like, if you do play defensively, he isn't perfect. He's still really fucking good, but he isn't perfect. And yeah, we move on to the one and only Mrs. Thundervisor, self Chun-Li. What to say about Chun-Li in Third Strike? You know what? I can barely even put it into words. Watch the Fighting Game Gold video by Big Yellow on like fucking Street Fighter 3 Chun-Li. She is just genuinely one of the best characters on all of fighting games. She's just, her super art too is what makes her go from already a really good character who can pretty much add a neutral to a game who doesn't have neutral, thanks to her really good pokes, like her down middle kick, her back heavy punch, forward heavy punch. But when she gets super art too, see, Yun makes you his bitch.
Chun-Li makes you her fucking bitch.
Super Art 2 changes the entire way you play against Chun-Li. You go from having to play slightly more defensively to avoid her good pokes, trying to stay at range, to being terrified because of her actually insane damage. Chun-Li's damage can't be understood by us mere mortals. Her damage is like incredible. Like, she can do half health to most of the cast outside of Hugo and Q, because it's just so good. And even outside Super Art 2, again, she has incredible pokes, has like one of the best grabs in the game. She's just overall incredibly solid. And that's why I think that Chun-Li is the best character in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, Fight for the Future. I don't know why they added another subtitle to the game, it's weird. So, I shall see you guys around for the next video. Also, I'm the real life sale on Fightcade, in case you ever see me, hit me up. Arrivederci!